Okay, in this presentation, we're going to be looking at how to calculate total contribution, which is actually quite an easy thing to do. And I think by the end of this, you'll realize just how easy it is. We're going to have a look at an exam question, as we always do in these presentations. And we'll be looking at the best way to use the data to enable you to calculate it. Now, there are two methods that you can use. There's method one, which is where we find total contribution. In order to do that, we have to find the contribution per unit, which is the selling price minus the variable cost per unit. Once we've got that figure, the contribution per unit, then we simply multiply it by the number of units sold, and that will give us our answer. So pretty straightforward, really. Just need to find the selling price, variable cost per unit, and then multiply by the number of units sold. The second method is actually even easier, because with method 2, all that we need to do is find total revenue, which is price times the quantity sold, and take away the total variable cost, which is the variable cost per unit, times the number of items sold again. Okay, both these methods pretty straightforward. In either method, whichever one you look at, and we'll be looking at both, you need 3 pieces of information only. You need the selling price, you need to know the variable cost per unit, and you need to know the number of sales. So when we go into the case study, those are the 3 items that we need to look for in order to be able to calculate total contribution. Okay, now you're going to need a pen or pencil, something to write with. You're going to need a calculator. If you've got a copy of the Lovewood case study with you, that would be useful, because that's the one that we're going to be looking at. So press pause for a moment now and go and get those items, and then we can get started. Okay, the paper that we're looking at is the Lovewood paper, which is from 2010. I think it's, if you want to try and find it online, I think it's, which one is it? Here we go, January 2010. We scroll down to the question first of all. The question obviously is going to be about total contribution, but we need to take a look at it and find out what the details are. So the question is, based on the data in figures 1 and 2, calculate the forecast total contribution for Lovewood Limited in 2010. Pretty straightforward again. They want us to find total contribution in the way in which I've just been talking about, and for that year, for 2010. Now be careful that you don't do it for the wrong year in the exam, because if you do, you will lose marks. An important point to make here is that they are actually telling you where to go and get the data. It says to do it based on the data in figures 1 and 2. So they're telling you, don't just look at figure 1, don't just look at figure 2, you are going to need both. Okay, so if we scroll up to figures 1 and 2, hopefully we're going to find all of the information that we need within those 2 bits of information. There's figure 2. Figure 1 must be a little bit higher up. Here we go. Figure 1. So figure 1 gives us the first piece of information that we need, which is that the average selling price for an individually designed wooden toy is £83. So in other words, that's our price, £83. That's the first piece of information. Remember, we need 3 pieces of information. We need the selling price, the number of items sold, and the variable cost per unit. So here we've got the price. The next line down gives us the annual sales forecast for 2010, which is the year that we're concerned with. So this is the figure that we want to use. And this is telling us that they expect to sell 4,000 toys in that year. Now remember that this is an older paper, and these are, although the years are in the past, they were looking at the future, because these were forecasts. So they're saying they expect to sell 4,000 toys and at £83. So we've now got 2 of the 3 pieces of information that we need. We've got the price, we've got the selling price, we've got the number of items to be sold. And the only other bit of information that we need is the variable cost per unit. Now, we know that they said to look at figure 1 and figure 2. Let's just quickly go back down to the question again, just to clarify that. So if we look at the question one more time, oops, I went a little bit too far, haven't I? If we go back up to the question, as you can see, it does say, where is the question? Here it is, it's coming up. It does say, based on the data in figures 1 and 2, calculate the forecast total contribution. So we've looked at figures 1, let's go back up to figure 2, and you can see in figure 2 that we've got all the variable costs. Now we have got 3 different variable costs. What you would have to do here is to add those 3 together. So we've got for raw materials £15, labour costs £5, and transport to customer £4. So we've got a total of £24 there, and what we would obviously have to do is to multiply that out by the number of customers, which is your 4,000 toys here, or the number of items sold, I should say, rather than the number of customers. Okay, so what I'd like you to do is to have a go at calculating it. So you need to do 2 things. First of all, you need to calculate the contribution per unit. And the way to calculate the contribution per unit is to take that price of £83 and take away the raw materials, the labour cost, and the transport to the customer. So it's your price minus the variable costs. And then what you need to do then is multiply that out by 4,000 toys. And that should give you the answer that you need, total contribution. So press pause again and have a go at working it out, and then have a look at my answers. Okay, now it's very important to lay things out really carefully. Make sure that you put down all of the workings. So the contribution per toy, as we've already said, is selling price minus the variable cost per toy. That's £83 minus £15 plus £5 plus £4, and that equals £83 minus £24. So the contribution per toy, selling price minus the variable cost. Make sure to write all of this down just in case you make one little error. And we can see all that information up here again. There's your 15 plus the 5 plus the 4 from figure 2, and there's your £83, the price from figure 1. Then we need to multiply it by the 4,000 toys. Okay, we've got 2 marks at that point for getting the answer £59, 83 minus 24. Then we need to multiply the contribution per toy, which is your £59, by the number of toys. So 59 times 4,000 gives you 236,000, and that's your answer. So that's all your 5 marks, 2 marks up there, a further 3 marks down here. Okay. Now I did say earlier that there was another method that you could use, so let's have a look at the other method. The other method is to simply say, well, let's work out the total revenue. So you take the price, the £83, and you multiply it by the number of toys, 4,000. That gives you total revenue, price times quantity sold. Then you take away the total variable costs. So your 15 plus the 5 plus the 4, your £24. Again, that's your variable cost per unit, multiplied by your 4,000 toys, gives you total variable costs. In this case, 332,000 minus 96,000, which gives you 236,000. Obviously the same answer, and you pick up your 5 marks in the same way, but you just need to choose which method you feel most comfortable with. And that's it done.